What does it take to install a brand new Omnisense Ulysses thermal high performance camera on our 29 Orion? That's what we're gonna figure out and learn today, because we just got this bad boy in a satin black to match our piping, the hardtop, and I have Harry from Omnisense here that's gonna work with us to get it done in case we have any questions, and Jason from our team, which is gonna do some of the work. He's a pro, he's done this before, but we're gonna show you how simple or difficult it is here, and we're gonna capture it all for you. All right, real quick, we cracked open the box, and this is everything that comes with it. From what we hear, it's a quick and easy installation, and we wanna show you what it's like to install it as a end user, not coming from the OEM. So this boat has been built, it's been in the water, it's been out there for quite some time. A little different than doing it at the factory, where it might be a little bit easier. So we want to show you as if you were doing it at home. We have the cables, junction box, base, gasket, obviously the camera and hardware. You want to get into any detail of what exactly these things are?
Yeah, basically the only thing that the customer has to provide is going to be a network cable to go between the junction box and the MFD. Everything else is included. There's a power cable, there is the camera cable. Camera cable can be shortened. It's 10 meters long, but it can be shortened up as long as you know how to do an RJ45 at the end. Okay. And then obviously the rest of the stuff's pretty self-explanatory. The one thing I will point out on the bottom here, these are actually stainless steel, but they're titanium plated for corrosion resistance.
Oh, very nice.
And inside the camera, anything that's an exposed stainless steel part is titanium coated as well.
So luckily, compared to other Orion boats, like ones we have here, this one didn't take the option of a light bar. So we're gonna utilize this space to put the camera here and go right to the edge of the non-skid, be able to through bolt it through the spreader light itself, and then Omnisense.
Give it like a little reveal, like not so much like this, but give it like a tiny bit.
Okay, so it's not right on the edge?
Right on it. Give it like a little, you know, half an inch or something.
Something like that, more or less.
Yeah, so it looks like it's ahead of these two, but still,
okay.
Yeah, that looks good. I like that.
Cool. And then Omnisense does provide this template. I cut it out just to get the shape of it, but this template is a sticker template compared to a lot of other people.
Side note, we have not cleaned this boat for a while, so don't give us a hard time about this hardtop. It's going to DNA Surface Concept from here and to the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. Oh, it's nice to have that template there. It makes it, you know.
Yeah, the template's
simple
great
and easy.
if you're doing a surface mount.
Flush mounted up.
If you're not, then the template won't really help because the pedestal is already pre-drilled.
Right, gotcha.
That's awesome. About there is correct.
So it's important to
That
note
looks good, yeah.
There is an arrow on here that shows where the forward part of the camera is. Underneath the bottom of the camera, it's also an arrow.
Also says the forward.
Okay, but the really nice thing is that if you get it off by a couple of degrees, through the actual interface, you can adjust the home position so that straight ahead, if you're 5 degrees off, you can bring it 5 degrees to the
straighten
side,
out, so you're starting from.
Yeah. But ideally, you want to have this right on center line, points straight forward.
From what my eyeballs can see, it looks like it's pretty centered.
So one of the cool things about this whole camera, you'll find out, is it takes more time to plan out where you're going to install it than it does to actually install it and get it working.
Right.
I center punch it so I'm not moving.
Yep.
Then I do pilot hole, make sure it's where I need it.
Yep.
And then I'll keep going to a bigger bit.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I want to say a 5/16 works really well. There's 6mm bolts, but a 5/16 works really well because it gives you a little bit of slop in there, so that if your holes are not perfectly straight, you're not worried about trying to get the studs to stick out to the sides.
So this camera has the O-rings integrated into the bottom.
It does. Yep.
So you don't need to put silicone there, right?
No, you can if you want to, but it's not necessary. You might want it on this just because of the texture here. You might want to put a bead all the way around, just because that way it's going to fill that gap. Make sure you got the arrow underneath, points forward.
Forward? Oh, well, I got to open up the middle hole first.
Yep.
Smart, so it's all good.
But you can see now, having used that 5/16, you got a little bit of extra room in there. You can wiggle it around a little if necessary. And the other thing you can do is if you have like a piece of tape, put tape on the front edge, and then where the arrow points up, put a mark on the tape. That way you'll know exactly where straight forward is.
On the, okay.
Yeah, on the base.
You should be able to mark that with a pencil right there. Okay. Right. Oh, you got it open?
Yeah.
Oh, you got it open.
I can save it. Read your instructions. I got excited.
Well, there you go. Those of you viewing at home, now you know there's the portion to plug this bad boy in down the center. We missed it, but hopefully you watching this before installing yours, you get it. So that's the purpose of the video.
Only a big bullseye in the template.
No, means nothing.
Jay's got fast hands, otherwise I would have stopped him.
That's nice.
So there's a lot of advantages in how they're actually constructed versus the competition. The base of it is made out of the same kind of alloy of aluminum that you use for making propellers. So it's extremely corrosion resistant. The entire unit, the upper part is all ABS plastic, but the whole unit is painted with all grip. And that does two things for you. Number one, you're not gonna get pitting because you've got the better or the more corrosion resistant base and then all grip finish on there. So you can also touch it up if you need to, which is kind of a nice feature. Internally, anything that's made out of stainless steel that's exposed is titanium plated. Give it that additional amount of corrosion resistance. And actually you can even see the screws that we use for mounting it are titanium coated.
Which really shouldn't see any daylight or much salt or weather, ideally.
Other things that we've got going for us are the fact that as far as installation, this is a 3-wire installation. One cable from the camera to the junction, one wire from the display to the junction, and one wire from power to the junction. And that's it. Actually, technically, that's 2 wires. But it's
a simple installation is basically
very simple installation. Also, all of our gear is software upgradable. So if you come by the boat show and happen to see the Color Micro that we're gonna have on display there, that Color Micro has a different user interface. So when the user interface gets ported to the other models, they'll all be able to be upgraded, software. Just need a PC.
Yeah, the simplicity of the installation is what kind of led us to go for it. I really didn't want to get into anything complicated or crazy. So the fact that it is this easy, definitely helps. And anyone watching at home that has a boat sitting on the side of their yard or at a marina, you can even do this while you're docked up at in your dock space.
And they don't joke around with this hardtop.
It's Orion Boats.
Yeah, it's nice.
Things don't play around.
OmniSense has been in the business longer than FLIR Systems has been making marine cameras. Primarily, our stuff is built in Singapore, and primarily we've been in the European and the Asian markets. We made our entry into the American market in 2019, right in time for COVID to hit. So that's really kind of hurt us from as far as the product recognition and the brand recognition for us. So that's what we're working on right now, is trying to get that brand recognition. We know we make a better camera. We just want to be able to get everybody to see that we make a better camera.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, honestly, until you and I met and you started giving me the spiel, did I start realizing, we had a FLIR camera before, had a great experience with it, so not saying anything negative about it, but you really impressed me with what, you guys are doing here. And a lot of it has to do with relationships as well. He's a great guy right here, and everybody we've met there has been, fantastic. So we're big on relationships and getting to test new items. So we haven't really put one of these through the paces. This is gonna be the make or break here for us. We're looking forward to it. No pressure.
No pressure.
He's not worried at all. That thing looks clean. So every boat is gonna be slightly different in the configuration. We have the spreader light box right here, which we're utilizing to make the installation easier. We can access everything through there. And this gives us enough depth to get our cable through there, which is this piece right here, and angle it how it needs to angle forward. We'll show you how that works. If you don't have that there, that's where this pedestal comes into play with the gasket. So you can put it on your flat hardtop like so, elevate the box, and it will give you enough room to run that cable as you need with this pedestal in place. So depending on what you guys have, you're gonna have to adjust, and this is an option you have to request if you do notice that you're gonna need it on your hardtop.
Got the hole opened up to get the cable for the OmniSense connected, but as I realized, I put in the studs into the holes. The hardtop is about 1 inch thick. What's giving out of the OmniSense right now is 1 inch. So I don't have enough to actually be able to put the washer in the nut from the bottom. One option I was given was get a longer threaded rod, which is the safer option. This one's about 1.5 inches. Probably with 2 inches, that should be more than fine. If not, very carefully, you could get a threaded screw M6, screw it from the bottom up. We're gonna play the safer rod on this one.
Better run to American Fasteners real quick. It's not too far away. Get what we need, and we're gonna do it right.
In the meantime, I could go running the cable, passing the cable into the console.
Yep. Mount the bottom.
Right now, cut the Ethernet.
Is that length of stud there usually enough on most applications, or?
Well, so that's made to be able to mount to that thing. So like on my boat, my boat, because I'm going through, there's a channel underneath, I'm going through about that much. And I can't get my hand inside that channel. So the alternative for me was to get some threaded rod. I've got some 9-inch threaded rods, M6 threaded rods. Screw them in there, slide it up, and bolt it at the top.
Did we get this because we got the pedestal, or is that what comes standard?
No, that's what comes standard.
Okay.
That's what comes
so it might be something that anyone out there might need to adjust, depending on the thickness of their hardtop. Or so not a big deal. We're gonna take care of that in 5 minutes, but it's something that you guys have to take into account and just check where it is you're going to install this thing and make sure you get the right, you know, hardware for the installation.
And if you do elect to use a machine screw or a bolt, you want to make sure that it's not too long because you don't want to pierce the bottom of the unit. One of the things that you want to do when you're planning your thing is you don't want to cut your cable too short. Okay? Think about the fact that it's got to make through all these curves and everything else. You want to leave yourself a little bit of a service loop. So it's better off just take the end off, run the cable, and then put a new end on at the appropriate length once you've got the cable run.
I'm gonna just cut it here.
Yep.
Take this off.
Sure.
Just in case I need the extra clearance in my channel.
Don't forget you're gonna have to feed from the top.
You're actually right.
Yeah. I've done one or two of these.
Yeah.
On my own boat. I've made all the mistakes already, so you guys don't.
So right now we are pulling the actual Ethernet power cables for the OmniSense into my e-box through the channel that we were cutting open earlier. From the e-box, we're gonna try to pass it through the piping into the console to get it hooked up to the junction box.
Okay, there's about 3 inches hanging out on the top, which you're gonna need at least that much to be, you'll have to pull the slack through, but you need that much just to get it turned up in there.
Would you recommend putting a little bit of electric grease?
I put dielectric grease on every electrical connection I make, so it'll never hurt, you know?
Yeah. Even though it does have an O-ring to seal.
It does have an O-ring and it's got a locking collar.
Outside anyways.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, it won't hurt to put, yeah, just put a dab on there.
It is an expensive piece of equipment, so.
Well, and more importantly, you don't want to have to run that cable again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice to let you enough extra cable there.
I did that.
Oh, you did that?
I did this.
Yeah, nice.
I think it was for that reason. Be able to just pull this out to the side. So right now I'm looking for power and ground and exactly where I'm going to mount my junction box. If you want to pass it to me, it's right there on the seat. So we're looking for where we're gonna place this junction box. And I think actually behind some of these amplifiers are pretty sweet. I got channels of wires where I could run it through.
You got plenty of depth there too with the angle, right?
He was mentioning to me that you want to see it.
There's little lights, LED lights. It'll shine green when it's working right, but it'll tell you if there's a problem. And it actually says like camera, network, whatever, so it'll tell you what's wrong.
So maybe what I could do is just put it really tall.
That's how I would just put it up near top.
Because this panel goes here. So it'll still hide my cables and I can get some solid mounts, run my cables down. My Ethernet cable up.
Still good there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we still get power and ground from here somewhere.
Of course, the higher you keep it off the floor, the less chance there's water's gonna get in there.
Yeah.
If there's water hitting this junction box.
Yeah, you got problems. Time to call the insurance company.
I think the last thing we're thinking about is the junction box. Get the safety glasses on. Alright, so right now we got the new studs, half an inch longer because of the thickness of this hardtop. Got them in, cables placed in. You want to make sure you get it in there and make sure it clicks. Actually, I'm gonna take it off right now because I did forget to put dielectric grease, very important, protect the connection. Even though it does have an O-ring inside to protect it, little extra care comes a long way.
Nice. And you got the arrow facing forward, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Very cool.
So one of my last steps here to finish installing the OmniSense on this side, then I'll jump into the console and install the actual junction box. Right now, even though it does have an O-ring, it has a double safety for waterproofing, I have put silicone. Since it is a CCO showboat, black is the move, so I'm going with black silicone for finish. Just getting the nuts with the lock washer in place, putting the spreader light back on, and we are set here. So we just finished bolting it down, cleaning up the silicone off the edge. That's it, ready to go into the console, put the junction box, hook it up to the MFD and test it out. So right now we're passing the fish tape from the e-box into the console. See, it came out of the console in there. Gonna hook up the cable from the OmniSense onto it to get this cable into the console. Junction box, continue from there, keep pulling. So this definitely is a lot easier with 2 people versus 1 person. If you are 1 person with 4 arms, then it might be easy.
I must be exceptional because I put it on my boat.
By yourself?
By myself.
You're one of a kind, Harry.
Okay, so what you'll notice inside, you get your connection for power right here. Then you have connections for a camera joystick and MFD here. So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna connect the power up, you're gonna connect the camera up, and you're gonna connect the MFD. And that's it. Yeah, you put the wire in there and then zip it.
Right?
Yep.
That's where it would squeeze with these.
Yes, correct.
So there are specific ones.
Yep.
Exactly where you Okay, so the power cable that is provided with OmniSense has these ferro core fittings that go into the junction box. What I did was I cut it down the middle because I gotta splice more wire to extend it to the switch that I got to connect it to and the ground bar I'm connecting it to. Cut it down the middle for the reason that if I mess this one up, I have another one with enough length basically as a backup. Right now, I shaved the wires. There was a aluminum shield on it, shaved it back. You will see there's 3 wires. This is your power, your ground, and the shield in case there is EMI. We do not necessarily need it. So what I'm gonna do right now is cut it off and connect it. So right now, what we have Brian doing for me is the Ethernet cable that we cut to run it into the console itself. He is going to be remaking this Ethernet connection, RJ45.
Just to note that it's not necessary to actually cut the cable. It's a 10-meter cable. If you don't want to have the cable wrapped up somewhere into your console, then cutting it is the best way to go. If you don't mind having a coil of it, then no reason to lop the end off.
Now some companies will do like an orange and a blue, but what you got to notice is that the twist rate on each pair is different, and so this will get you up to 1 gig. Technically they can overclock it, you can get more if you got a higher data. This is going to be a 25 gauge. The really good stuff is 23 gauge, and it's really hard to work with just because it tears up your fingers, but they go as far as putting in this plastic ribbing in here to go ahead and separate the pairs. They sure made it a whole lot more difficult, I should say, from the Cat 5 to the Cat 6 to the Cat 7s, ribbed, not ribbed. I mean, makes it difficult, but transmission rates are better. It's more constant signal,
right?
Or consistent rather.
Now we finally got the junction box cover back on. Nice thing about this is that it actually has a little tiny groove opening, so you know exactly which cable comes out of what. Got the power cables here. This one was from the camera going in. This is from the junction box Ethernet cable going back out. I was able to use the spare Ethernet cable that I cut off of the camera side to actually connect it from junction box to my MFD now.
So it's really important to have strain relief on the cables. So we provide zip ties that work with the shape of our junction box so that they lock in place and you can pull them real tight and that cable's never going anywhere.
Just like that.
When you think it's tight enough, pull it tighter. There you go.
Sweet.
So one of the things that we did here is we actually shortened up the cable a little bit, and to do that we use an RJ45 modular connector. This particular one is a pull-through style with the ability to add shielding, which is pretty typical in the marine business. We are crimping it to the T568B pattern. It's a pretty standard one, pretty much white, orange, orange, white, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. Even I mess up every once in a while, but that pattern is pretty standard in the industry, whether you're doing power Ethernet or a standard Ethernet connection, which is what this system uses, which makes it awesome because you can plug it into any network.
Don't lose your end if you cut it off. It's
Oh, yeah.
show you the color code.
This is an easy way to get that color code right on there, so you don't have to memorize it. This was also a pull-through style, so you can see the end of the cables there, but very, very easy to terminate, and we're gonna show you how we do it right now. Take the sheathing off, you'll see you have a shield on this particular wire, your shield and your shield wire. So it's 2 different things. Both of these are going to prevent EMI, which is electromagnetic interference. That's what causes packet loss on data transmissions. And essentially this is what keeps it real nice and tidy. If you notice on all rigging, the 12-volt rigging, it's usually very, very tight. So when you're running an Ethernet cable parallel to 12-volt power, you're going to get that electromagnetic interference in between your network signal generated by the 12-volt DC current. So this is one easy way to mitigate it by using a shielded wire like what OmniSense has provided. So it's really high quality stuff, really easy to not make a mistake and not have any interference. Separate these wires, which the 4 different pairs have they're wound at different tightnesses, which give them different lengths, which affects the way that they transmit data. On these 4 pairs, the only ones that are really transmitting data are going to be orange and green pair, and the others are used for things like power transmission or other proprietary items that some manufacturers may use. Take off a little bit of the shielding here, so it's a nice cleaner deal. So now on this particular one, this is the pull-through style, so you'll see you can easily confirm your pattern here. So you have your white, orange, orange, white, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. So that is your standard T568B pattern. which we'll be using here. So we're plugged in, we're ready to go.
There it goes. So once you get everything installed, when you start up, you're gonna see the Ulysses Micro on there. If you don't, you're gonna see a screen that says setup, and it's gonna tell you how to set the IP address. In this particular case, we preset this one for you for Simrad. Touch the button, it's gonna bring up that OmniSense camera, touch screen, drag it. And you can see right now it's on white hot, so
we'll stand in the front.
yeah. And then you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. Like for example, go to the menus and you can change the color palette.
Oh,
so,
sick.
White hot, black hot, red
So that'll
hot.
show me like thermal there?
Yep. This is all thermal. Yeah. Green hot, psychedelic. I like this one right here. Red and yellow for hot. Then we've got disco.
That is awesome. So you have 6 different thermal settings.
Yes.
Nice.
And it's really, there's different times when it's going to be advantageous to use black hot or white hot or the red and yellow hot, depending on what the conditions are outside.
And you can
So-
zoom in and out?
Yeah, so in addition to that, you come into the menu here, you can zoom in and out,
Sweet.
zoom in, zoom out. You also can adjust the contrast and brightness. If you have your radar on, you turn radar slave on. When you see a return on the screen, you tap the return, the camera's gonna turn towards it. So on a big screen like this, you run it split screen with
Your
radar
radar on
over
the
chart on one side, camera on the other side. When you see something on the radar, tap it, camera turns.
Sweet.
So you can also go in here, this is all our setup menus in here as well. So you've got just information about the camera itself, device access, so there's the IP address, which was pre-programmed for you guys, but you can see it'll automatically conform to any of these. It's just gonna come up there, it's gonna ask you for an IP address. On video, 30 frames per second, NTSC, which is US television, and then the bitrate. Position, so if I wanted to, let's
If
say I
we
mount
were
this
to mount
underneath,
it like
yeah,
a-
we can go ball down,
And it'll be
hit save and reboot. It's going to reboot the camera, and everything's going to be upside down because it now thinks that it's
But the
mounted
camera's now
upside down.
how we were originally gonna mount it.
Correct.
Glad you
Pick-
found a better alternative.
Yeah, I think putting it up there was definitely a better alternative than putting it underneath.
Way nicer. Way
Yeah.
nicer too.
Cleaner. It's not in your field of view at all. There's
Sweet.
cars upside down.
Yep.
Okay. So you want to change it back? You just go back here, do the same thing again. You go to position, ball up, save and reboot. Okay. Now on the new interface that's on the Micro C, which will eventually be on this one as well, and it's upgradable by the end user to take this particular user interface and upgrade to the new user interface when it's available.
Okay.
We can also add features to it. For example, you know, if you want to add a feature where it does automatic zooming or something like that, and we do software change to that, it'll basically set up to do that
How would you go about updating the software?
through a USB
Okay.
cable
Nice.
and a PC. So a couple other things here under setup. Go a little farther along. Okay, we've got function. So I like using the function for home. Okay, so when the camera's moved or whatever, you hit the function button and it will move to home.
Gotcha.
Then, oh sorry, let me go back to position for a second. On position, you can also set your home position. So if you're not lined up perfectly, which we're lined up pretty good, but if you're not, you basically just hit set, you move it around, you hit it again, and you're good to go. You can also reset it back to factory, and then you can have your auto home feature. So I'll set it for 15 seconds, and we don't need to save and reboot on
So
this.
what that would do is basically if you're messing with the camera, going left or right,
After 15
after 15,
seconds,
30
come back to
seconds,
center.
whatever you set it at, it'll go
As
automatically.
long as you haven't touched the screen. If you
Cool.
touch screen, it's going to
It'll,
it's
okay.
going to still think
It'll
it's
reset
doing
the timer in a way.
correct. So here we go right now. We'll go ahead and move this off center. And wait 15 seconds. And we'll go what do we got? Okay, also in the settings, let's see, LED. On the side of the camera, there's an LED light on either side.
I see it. I see it though. Catching that? Sweet.
In addition to that, some other things you can do. If you have a joystick, you can actually also change the backlighting on the joystick controller. So you, like on my boat, I've got a joystick mounted here. You can change the color. I've got mine blue. I don't like red or green anywhere on the boat because that's for navigation. And then junction box is basically just giving some information about it, what the serial number is, IP address, whatever.
So you don't have to go physically to the box to get the serial number if needed.
Correct. In
contact
fact, you
the
can actually
manufacturer.
get it on the first page here.
On information. Oh, sweet.
There it is. So that's kind of the basic function of it. It works very well. It's very simple to use. Normally, what you're gonna do is at night, you're probably gonna wanna run it on white hot.
Okay.
If you're having trouble seeing stuff, switch it over to black hot. It'll sometimes help you to pick things up that you couldn't normally see. And again, we're gonna wait 15 seconds from the last touch of the screen, and the camera's gonna go ahead and recenter itself. You can also see at all times where the camera is pointed.
Oh, that's nice.
And you can also see the elevation of the camera. Right now it's level. So there's the auto home. It's gone back to the home position. If you want to move it, basically here, so we go up and you see how that moved. Now, I already programmed the function button for home. So I hit function and it goes right back to home. So
You can zoom in or out here?
if you want to zoom, you come here to the plus.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, well.
So all the way up to 4x zoom. Again, we're kind of close to these things.
Yeah.
And so we're not
On the
really seeing
water,
a lot of
obviously,
different.
yeah.
If you're looking for a lobster pot, this is what you want. You got to remember though that your field of view is smaller. So the bigger the picture that you're looking at, the more magnification, the smaller the area you're viewing. So going back here, we can go ahead and take this back to 1. There's 1 to 1 again. And then color and brightness and contrast. If it's too bright for you at night, you can take the bright down. Contrast, I normally leave mine right about 50%. But there's times, if the picture's not that good, you want to bring it up or down, you can do that. LED changes the color of the LEDs on the side. If you had a joystick controller, you can change the backlighting on the joystick controller. It would also tell you the IP address of the joystick controller and the serial number there.
Joystick controller for the camera itself?
Yeah, so if you have a older generation stuff that can't accept networked video in, then you can use the supplied audio visual cable, AV cable, into a BNC connector on the back of your unit. So for example, if you've got a Garmin 7600, you're not locked out of being able to use this. You just need to also purchase the controller.
Controller.
Now, the controller is actually really nice, and I have, even though I've got touch screens and I've got more modern stuff that I can do everything on the screen, I like the joystick because I can sit here and put my fingers on the edge of it like that, and I can move the button around. So when I'm bouncing around, I'm
Pretty
not
nice,
like,
like you said, on a day with any sort of chop and you cruising, it's actually
Right.
tough to hit that function button and
So here's the
zoom
other thing that I'll
buttons.
say is when you want to do something with it, park your finger somewhere, hit it,
Yeah.
move it, a lot easier to control it.
Yep.
Okay, again, function button is set for home, right back to home again. Boom.
Cool.
All right.
Can't wait to see this thing out at night.
When you're all done, you hit aux, turn it off, the camera will go off.
So you sell it to that auxiliary?
Yeah. There it is.
There it is.
Yep, disconnected.
I did my
Okay.
job.
So now it's
You set it up
disconnected.
to that,
Yep,
onto that.
and then also once you enter it, when you first connect up, you go to the camera and it's gonna tell you there's a problem with the camera, that you need to set it up. It'll tell you exactly how to set it up. Because
Okay.
the IP address on Garmin is static, but on Simrad it changes around depending on what unit you're using. So you need to be able to match the IP for the camera to the unit. Notice you're not seeing the icon for it right now. When we turn it back on again, it's gonna go through its self-test. Swing around, you can hear it moving. Swing it around, it's going up and down, make sure it's all good. And then after a couple of seconds, you'll see the icon come up for the camera itself. There it is,
Boom. There we go.
right? So, you want split screen, for example. You can split screen, do your radar overlay on this side, and on this side of your split screen, do your camera. Cruising along, you see something out there, and you're like, is that buoy or is that a boat? You tap the button.
We'll set that up.
Right
So we
there.
want to do
Shark with radar overlay. Yep. And then,
well, I don't know if I can count that, do I?
yep,
Like that.
there you go.
Yep. Done deal.
Nice.
One of the top tips that I give people is that when you get ready to shut the camera off, to point it straight down, then go ahead and turn the camera off. It'll stay in that position. If you look up here, you can see it is now shut off and in that position. When you turn it on, it's gonna go right back to its home position, but this gives you some protection, especially if like you're trailering, the lens is not straight into the windstream.
Yeah, sure. Rainy days, birds,
Yep.
tree debris from trailering. So it just protects it by pointing it down. And then when you click it on, it obviously engages to the home position.
Correct.
Yep,
And
that's
I can
smart.
do that right now. So when you turn it on, it runs through its self-test. Okay, that's pointed back now, so the lens is protected. When you shut it off, it's gonna stay in that position.
You want straight backwards?
Yeah, you can go straight backwards. When I'm on the lift, I leave it straight down. That way the rain's not hitting the face of it. But if
Okay.
you're gonna tow it, if you run it straight backwards, you
It'll protect it
get
anyway.
chips, stone chips, whatever, that's gonna happen to the ball, not to the lens. So just a little bit
True.
of protection for it.
Okay.
Turn it back on again. And again, it's going to go back to its home position. So it'll run through its self-test and go to home.
So there you have it. That was the installation of our brand new Omnisense Ulysses Micro
High
performance camera. I try to get it all in one shot. Sometimes it's tough, but again, this is kind of an intro model. You can get this one for $3,700. You can get it on openfisherman.com, which is on our website. So go check it out. If you're interested, we can send you the link. Thank you very much, Harry, for everything, walking us through it. It couldn't have been easier, honestly. Hopefully this video helps you guys that are, you know, Googling this system and the installation, and that's what we wanted to provide. Anything you want to throw in there?
Yeah, we've got new stuff coming out. I think you saw the color camera at the IBEX show. That's going to be shipping soon. That's a $5,000 retailer.
Okay.
We have stabilized versions of this camera. We have stabilized version of this camera with a bigger thermal sensor, and then we have dual payload cameras, and it just goes up from there. Spec for spec. Try not to get into a spec war. So if they say they're such and such distance, we say we're the same distance.
Right.
In reality, put them side by side. Ours is going to be better than the competition.
So good. I mean, what we wanted to do here is test out the Omnisense system. We've known you, I've spoken to you guys for quite some time now. I've been impressed with the product. We have never used it on a boat, so this is where we'll really get a good feel about it, and that's where we can, you know, talk to you guys. I always put my phone number directly out there if anybody wants to chat about any of the stuff that we get into or put on our boats, or, you know, the products we learn about. So feel free to take advantage of that if you guys would like. We're gonna get into this. Hopefully we can do more with Omnisense. Any questions, or if you would like to get linked up with Harry directly, we can do that as well. Other than that, my name is Alan, Center Consoles Only. Thank you guys for supporting us through all this stuff. We're having a lot of fun doing it, learning about every product that's out there, and hopefully you guys are as well. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.